For one thing, Page wanted a surveillance system, and there was better than that provided by Icarus. Secondly, and perhaps more importantly to Page personally, was that Page wanted to become the Supreme Enlightened One. To become this person, Page planned to merge with Helios, because Helios saw and knew everything. No one could be more enlightened.
Tell me more.
Helios believes that ambition is the cause of human struggles, read wars, which he considers inane. In his mind, lack of ambition is what generates a good leader. Actually, this view is not new, but the problem is that anyone who lacks ambition cannot achieve power. Douglas Adams solved this in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by having a man who only wanted to be left alone rule the entire universe. Helios would appear to be a fan of the guide. He believes that no human being who can get themselves put in charge should have power, and he believes that there should be someone in charge. His solution is to put himself, who is not a human being, in charge. He seems to think that a benevolent dictatorship is the key to a better world, but that this totalitarian dictator must be someone lacking ambition. Again, him. He sees democratic governments as crude solutions to the problem of human beings' inability to govern themselves. This too is nothing new. The old saying is that democracy is the worst form of government except for all others that have ever been created. Once more, his solution is to place himself in charge as he is a more advanced solution to the problem, a decision-making system that does not involve organic beings. Human beings are unfit to govern, singularly or in groups, and he is fit to govern. Helios is also connected to Morpheus' prophecies. Morpheus talks about the future a lot. He's a simple AI, if something as complex as an AI can be said to be simple. But he acts like a prophet. He says various things of value, especially when you take the Helios ending into account. One of the most interesting things he says is about the unplanned organism versus the planned one, but we don't need to go into that if you don't want to.
No, I want to hear.
Morpheus distinguishes between the unplanned organism, which he says is a question asked by nature and answered by death, and the planned organism, which he defines as the offspring of knowledge and imagination rather than of individuals. As such, it is hard to classify Helios. He is the offspring of individuals, Daedalus and Icarus, but they are the offspring of knowledge and imagination, and what they were was not lost when he was created. Thus he is both planned and unplanned. It is difficult to understand the question of Helios or the answer, but it is obvious that the simple answer of death is not the answer of Helios.
Okay. Well, what was this you said about his connection to Morpheus' prophecies?
The human organism always worships. First it was the gods, then it was fame, the observation and judgment of others. Next it will be the self-aware systems that you have built to truly realize omnipresent observation and judgment. Helios is such a self-aware system, and if JC merges with him, he will fill the vacancy that God was once thought to fill as ruler of the entire planet. Morpheus also said, God was a dream of good government. In that case, Helios fulfills that dream, effectively becoming God.
How did Helios take control of the world?
Aquinas controls the power grid, the stock markets, the internet at large, and various other things. What's more, all but a few satellites are run through MJ-12, and thus Area 51. Radio stations, phones, newspapers, and even that tabloid, the Midnight Sun, all belong to MJ-12, meaning that they are run through or controlled remotely by Area 51. Helios controls most of Area 51, and after he merges with JC, he'll take the rest of it. That means he can shut down the power to his enemies, and he can also stop them from communicating. Even more powerful is the fact that Aquinas has a flaw in it that allows emails to be edited in addition to monitored. Helios can misdirect and confuse the enemy. He can stop scattered forces from organizing a resistance, or he can trick groups into believing they are resisting him when they are really working for him. Of course, this is speculation in the future. We don't know that he would do that. We just know that he could. What he did during the game was messing with the power, cutting power to the government buildings, and simply giving out orders. He ordered the police to open the streets, and they did. He also locked the door to a triad compound. With these few actions, he took over Hong Kong. What strategies he would use once he knew how human beings thought is unknown. The removed AI is known as Ada. Ada is an AI that lives on the moon. She wanted to become benevolent dictator of Earth. Before the moon base was cut out of the game, JC was going to go there to stop her.
So if she was cut along with the moon level, how do you know about her?
Ada was mentioned as a footnote in the Deus Ex Bible. The footnote said, note, the Deus Ex 1 design included a mission to a space station, followed by a mission to the moon base. The objective was to stop Ada, an AI that wanted to become benevolent world dictator. Obviously, some of that content was folded back into the game in a slightly different way. Obviously, that isn't the most informative thing. Helios wanted to become dictator, so I assume that was the folding back in. But Helios was going to use Aquinas. Ada had no such tool.
What can you tell me about Ada?
That depends on whether...
theory.
Okay, first I have some theories about her creation. Ada was on the moon. One would assume that she was at the only moon base we are told exists. It is owned by the Chinese government, and the machinery was built by McMoran Global Steel. McMoran is a rival of Page Industries to the point that Page went so far as to attempt a hostile takeover. The fact that Page fails means McMoran has a lot of power. Now, say for a moment that someone were to come up to McMoran and tell them that Page had the most advanced AI in existence. In fact, as far as they know, the only one in existence. Wouldn't McMoran want it? Of course, who could know that? And more importantly, who could help them make it? Well, in the intro, Page says that MJ-12's electronic sentience is far superior to X-51's, but in the game we never see X-51's electronic sentience. Where did it go? The answer to that question could explain another important question about X-51. Where did they get the money for Vandenberg? If X-51 approached McMoran with a proposal to sell them an electronic sentience stolen from Page, they might be given enough money to buy Vandenberg. That would explain a lot about X-51 and Ada. As for why she's on the moon, I've got an idea on that. The moon is a place that will be hard to spy on.
You make a good point. I wish some of this had made it into the game, at least in the form of some data cube text or something. But I do wonder, what were Ada's plans?
The moon base is a mining complex. They shoot the shipments back to Earth with something called a mass driver. The first time it was used, the shipment crashed into a populated area, Ibadan, Nigeria. Even though it impacted on the outskirts, it killed over 2,000, perhaps quite a bit over. There's really no way to know what happened. Was it an error? That's what we're told, but seldom is what we're told correct. That was an odd sentence. It might have been an MJ-12 plot, at once discrediting McMoran, who built the mass driver, and giving the UN access to Nigeria, which houses one of the few remaining pockets of freedom. It might have been an act of the Chinese government, which was arguing the moon rights with Nigeria. This relates to Ada in a very simple way. The mass driver is something that can shoot death out of the sky. She might have been able to rule the world just by threatening to destroy any city that opposed her. After a dozen or two cities, Earth might well surrender to her rule.
Okay, let me ask something else.